Welcome, everybody. My name is Timon Thomas, co-founder of Global Ed Recruiting, and today I have a very special guest with me. I was not able to memorize all of his accolades and all of his achievements, so I had to write it down, so I'm just going to read it out to you. My guest today has a bachelor's degree in business and a minor in sport management and leadership. You may also know him as one of the top 3 athletes in the world, having won 2 Commonwealth championships and medals at the World Championships. He just happened to have an actual Olympic bronze medal. He has represented Grenada 3 times at the Olympics. My guest today is Lindon Victor, OBE. Welcome.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Good to have you finally. We've been in talks for quite some time. We've done other stuff together, but it's been a little while, and we said, you know what, we need to have that conversation about the man beyond just the medal, but the person who, really came out here to achieve great things. And I'm happy that you are here. How are you feeling?
Man, thanks for having me, man. For me, it's a pleasure to talk about something that goes beyond my athletics pros, like what I've done on the track. I think it's good, but sometimes being in a setting where I could talk about something that goes beyond that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah.
And plus, you're like my brother, so like, you call and I was like, heck yeah, I'll make the drive and I'll come join you guys.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being here, and this conversation is going to be a little more extensive. It's going to be beyond just, as I said, what you've done on the track, but you as an individual, as a student, and as an international student, for one thing, there's a lot to talk about there. So, but you know what? Let's start in that place where, good conversations have to start so that people understand who you are. So, can you tell us?
Rum shop?
We talk about it at the rum shop, but the conversation is about where you came from as an individual. We're trying to understand who you are, and I think a lot of people want to know, who's Lindon Victor? Where did that person start from?
Well, I like to tell people Lindon Victor is a young, humble man hailing from the village of Lafayette. That's the best way to put it. A young farmer who happened to get a break to come to the U.S. and did some amazing things.
Yeah.
That's the best way I like to put it,
All right, well, that's pretty noble, man. So let's dig a little deeper into, like your formative years.
Yeah.
Because I knew you since you were a secondary school athlete.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always found very admirable about you is that you would leave St. George's, you would come all the way up to my school where we worked and we trained other athletes, and you worked with us there, you trained with us. And I saw it like, that guy really is someone who wants to achieve something beyond the ordinary. And you've gotten the opportunity to do so. But what created that drive in you to do stuff like that, to go beyond just, okay, I'm good and that's it?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that I was good. But I knew that if I was going to do it, I was going to give myself the best chance to be good. So I think people see me and they think that, oh, he was always good, and that's not the truth. But I gave myself the chance to go wherever the coaches were, to go wherever the people were who could make me good. And I think that's one of the things that helped me to become a better athlete. I used to tell people that there's a girl in my neighborhood called Chanel. She used to beat me in running. So a girl used to beat me, so I know I have an Olympic medal, but it wasn't one of those cases where like I was one of those people you're going to see, oh, he going to win an Olympic medal. Like when Kiani was running, you can tell. By the time he was 12, he was the best guy in the world. So like his trajectory, like it's almost, you can see it coming. But with me, it took a little bit longer because I kind of made myself into a world-class athlete.
So I think there's something more there that we need to explore, because I don't think you just woke up and said to yourself, you know what, I could just make myself a world-class athlete. So there must have been some influence, maybe from parents, from your siblings, from just being in that particular environment. What do you think contributed to that?
Well Tim, here's the funny thing, right? I never got into track to be a world-class athlete, I got into track because I saw a lot of Grenadians was getting scholarships to go and study. And I was like, that is my way out. So I was like, the worst thing that could happen is that I get an education. The Olympics, that wasn't even on my mind really, to be honest with you. But I saw a lot of people, I say, well, them schools giving people scholarship.
Yeah.
So then I see Jackie and get a scholarship. I see my brother get a scholarship. I see Joe Philip get scholarship. And I was like, there's an opportunity to go out there, to get on a plane,
Yeah.
So it wasn't, my drive wasn't to just be an Olympian, because to be honest with you, at that time, we never had an Olympic medal.
True.
So no, I didn't think Grenadians could win Olympic medals. You get what I'm saying? So my drive wasn't to be like an Olympian and to win an Olympic medal. My drive was to get scholarship, because that's what I see people was doing. And then fast forward, Grenadian come and win multiple medals. And, you start to believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
But like starting off, the goal was never to win an Olympic medal. The goal was to get education. Because I tell people this, education has made more millionaires than sports ever will. And the money that you see going in sports, somebody paying these guys, and it's not the athlete that paying them.
True. Yeah, it's those business people and those people that...
You understand? That make good investments and things, and they buy the team. And these are the ones. So if somebody paying these guys 500 million, how much money that guy have?
Exactly. That's those billionaires, right?
Yeah, you understand?
Yeah, so, I didn't look at it that way in terms of like, well, obviously I didn't know what your drive was or your intention were. But that's interesting to hear. So let's go back to like when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Or maybe even primary school, before high school. How were you in the class? Like, were you one of those people who were like, you know what, you try to do your best at every single class that you took? Were you good at any particular areas? Well, what were you good at?
So in primary school, man, I was smart. I used to come first or second every time. I remember one time this girl, she was like, Lindon, let me come first this year now. I promise you, because I used to take my education because I was proud to go home and show my parents my report book. And so primary school, like first or second, every time. And it was always me or that girl. And I remember, I'll never forget this. She said, Lindon, let me come first this year now. Like, no, because I'm a competitive person. And then I went to GBSS, I wasn't coming first. I was in the top 10, but I was a diligent student. I always took education serious, and I also think that the competitive side of me always was there, even in the classroom. So I hated not being on top. I hated not being good at something. But the subject that I fell in love with was accounting.
Okay. I
absolutely love accounting, and I had a really good accounting teacher. I thought I was smarter than him.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like for me, like, I like the challenge of the accounting. I like the challenge of balancing the accounts. And, we could have intellectual conversations, my accounting teacher and I. And I was like, well, I used to call him folio. Yeah, I was like, folio, you're wrong, And then, we would discuss it and stuff. So I really fell in love with that subject. And disappointed I got a 2 in it, but it was still my favorite subject. And I ended up getting 9 CXCs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So in terms of like you realizing that you had athletic talent and then balancing your education, at what point did that become something that you had to start thinking about?
You see, when I talk to people, I don't understand what was hard about it.
Okay.
Because, and I didn't only balance academics, athletics, I also had a landscaping business. I had animals that my father was strict about. You gotta get up and feed the pig, you gotta get up and feed the cow. So I had animals that I used to have to take care of at the same time. But, there's a saying, if you want something, don't give it to a busy man. I really believe that. Because I didn't have time to chill. I didn't have time to play. Because my time was already allocated for me. So when people tell me they can't balance academic and athletics, to me, I feel like that is easy because I had to run a whole business because I was cutting a lot of yard when I was in GBSS. Like I I was cutting yards for like 300, 150 every fortnight. They want the yard cut.
Yeah.
So me and my boys used to roll every Saturday. So when we balance it, like if it's every 2 weeks now, we cut this one. So every weekend we have
a rotation going.
Yeah. So so for me, balancing it was easy. When I'm in practice, I don't think about school. And when I'm in school, I don't think about practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an athlete when I'm an athlete, and I'm a student when I'm a student, and I'm a landscaper when I'm a landscaper.
Yeah.
You know, it was just that simple to me.
So it seems as if your whole business prowess and the idea of you getting into business kind of started from very young then.
Yeah. I mean, so I remember when I transitioned from cutting the yard with my cutlass and a stick. So I used to cut my yard with a cutlass and a stick growing up.
Mm-hmm. I know that technique.
Yeah.
You just hook it.
Yeah.
And then you get below there and you just cut. Yeah.
And I cut and then my father buy a little bend shaft weed eater for me to cut the yard.
Mm.
And then one day my neighbor checked me and he said, boy, come on, cut the yard for me. And he gave me $20. I was like, you can make money like that. So then I cut another neighbor yard, I got $40. And then, you know, I started cutting the yard and I was cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and then I got a bigger weed eater, one of them steel weed eater. My father take it out from courts and he was like, you have to pay back for that for yourself.
Yeah. So that was your first investment?
That was my first investment. But so I was like, because the weed eater, I remember, was $2,800. I was like, how I pay him back $2,800 as a little boy?
Yeah.
But then I started working, you know, and every week, every month I'll pay. And then I ended up paying off for my weed eater. And then they work, and then that's how I was like, I need to study business. I need to study accounting. Mm-hmm. You know, because I need to understand how business works. And my father always tell me, pay yourself first. So my father, he was teaching me business because now I took all these business classes.
Yeah.
You know, I learned all these things that I had already known, but I didn't know that it was business I was already doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And it's amazing how you carried that on all the way through your university degree and everything, as I guess we'll talk about soon. But so it sounds as though your parents had like a very critical role to play in helping you to become a good time manager.
Yeah.
Helping you to...
I didn't have a choice.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. Most Caribbean parents don't give you a choice, to be quite honest, right?
Yeah.
And then you definitely had a good role model in that of your brother.
Yeah.
He was a world-class athlete also.
Yeah.
So how do you think those influences really shaped you as an individual?
Well, I mean, I remember when my brother got his scholarship, right? He ponged into me as like, your education is the reason you're coming up for. Like, he made sure that he told me that every time, your education first. Because he was already in the system, he already seen what it is. He seen people go and fail, people go and try to be people that they're not. Mm-hmm. So he was telling me that your education first. So he had a big influence in the way that I was thinking before I even got to the US. And, you know, like, apart from, like, the hard work, they instilled a lot of Christian values into me, you know, like, why it's like to fear God and stuff like that. So, you know, when I went and I came to America, I already had all of these beliefs already instilled in me. So, they played a huge part into the person that I am today.
So they basically gave you the foundation.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that is the role of parents.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know exactly how it worked in terms of the period when you left Grenada and you came to the US.
Yeah.
Because all I knew was Lindon was training with us. He was there. He was beating us sometimes, especially in the discus and all those things at intercalls.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we trained this guy to beat us. That's so weird. But I know you excelled.
Yeah.
At that point, you represented Grenada at the junior level, you know, and so. But then to me, in my recollection, it's just like, all right, well, Lindon is no longer here, but I never knew of exactly what path you took.
Yeah.
So could you describe exactly how you ended up in the US, getting your education and becoming a better athlete?
So it's a funny story because at first I thought the government was giving scholarships, right? When I see all these people getting scholarships. I quickly realized that wasn't the case. I realized it's the schools that give these scholarships. And I thought I was good enough in my eyes to get a scholarship to go to the US. Come to figure out now, no school in believe that Lindon Victor is good enough. So then I finished GBSS, I finished TAMCC, no scholarship. So I started working. I was a teacher at Sunnyside. I was under the Imani program. So I started the Imani program because I said, well, nobody want to give Lindon a scholarship. So I kept sending out emails while working. Sending out emails while working and training. And because I don't know if you remember that time they wanted to integrate the PE system into things. So I was like a PE teacher. Well, they brought me in as a PE teacher, but I was also teaching. And man, it became so frustrating to me because I saw all of these people get scholarship. And I was only doing this track thing to get a scholarship. And nobody was going to give me the scholarship. And, so I was working, I was making $700 a month because that's how much they're paying.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, Imani. And that could have easily been my life,
Yeah?
Yeah, because sometimes, when you get stuck in that cycle, it's hard to come out.
Yeah, it is. It's
hard to come out.
Yeah.
And then one night, I sent an email to a coach, and then I remember my mother come from prayer meeting, and she said, I just pray for you to get a scholarship. And then that same night, the coach replied to me, and she's like, Lindon, listen, here's the deal. I can't take you, but I will send you somewhere. And she sent me in a small school where, like, the whole school was like 1,000 people.
A community college, or was it a four-year university?
It was a private liberal arts college.
Okay.
It was a Catholic school, and they don't give full scholarships.
Okay.
But for some reason, they said they will give me a full scholarship. I don't know how.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and then I get that scholarship. I start to praise and I start to say thank God. And after that, I was like, man, I gonna make the most out of that one scholarship.
That's crazy, boy. So when you got there, you immediately went into studying business, or
immediately went into studying business. I was going to study accounting because I love accounts. And first semester 3.5 GPA, like school is easy, man. Like I love the accounting, I love the business school, and I was on track to get a great degree from that university, it was a college, so I was on track to get, but I was not excelling in track.
Oh, okay.
Because with these small programs, they don't have the budget, they don't have the infrastructure, but I was making great grades, but I wasn't doing as well as I wanted on the track.
Okay.
So, I decided that, I needed a change to be able to balance the two things. And then that's when I made the move that changed my whole life. I went to go train. I transferred to a school to Texas A&M. And funny enough, Aline Francique was a coach there.
Oh, okay.
And Francique was like, bro, you come into Texas A&M. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm good enough to go to Texas A&M, because at that time, Texas A&M was a creme de la creme.
Yeah.
They had won 3 national titles, three years in a row, like back to back. No team has ever done that. Yeah. So I was scared to even go there because I was like, man, this guy is good. So that's how I ended up at Texas A&M.
So in terms of the actual transfer to Texas A&M,
yeah,
was that because of your initiation, or was there someone that helped you to get into Texas A&M?
Well, it was before I left the school, though. I think I should put that out there. Before I left the school, I told the AD, I was like, hey, man, I think I could be an Olympian. I think I'm good enough to be an Olympian if you help me with coaches and stuff, and I appreciate you guys giving me the scholarship. So I didn't just leave.
Okay.
But he was like, that's not in their budget. That's not something they could do right now. So then I went to Commonwealth Games and I did really well, but that's because I came back and I trained with Coach Paul.
Oh, in Grenada?
In Grenada.
Okay.
Well, after my first year there, I did horrible. And then I came back and I trained with Coach Paul for like a month. And then we went to Glasgow for Commonwealth in 2014. And that meet was when my brother won his first medal. But that's the meet that Lindon Victor broke out in.
Okay.
I finished 7th. My brother won a medal. But that was the meet that changed my life.
Oh, okay.
Because that's when school started realizing, well,
the potential you have.
Yeah, but it's funny enough. My brother won the medal, but they were like, "This little boy gonna be good," and everybody was like, "This little boy go." Like I was young and I was a novice, but that's when the potential started to show, and then that's when school started to reach out and stuff and say, you know what, we can't give you a full. We could give you this. We can't give you that. We could give you a full. No, depending on which school it is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when the Lindon Victor happened.
Okay, so I wanted to speak to athletes who believe that, I can just come out to the US or these big countries and they should give me a full scholarship.
Man.
It's just going to happen. It's like, I'm good enough. Like, I think I'm good enough. Why don't you think I'm good enough? Give me a full scholarship.
Yeah, I feel like we need to educate our people who are leaving on the process, because I feel like there's a perception that going around that even happened to me because I was ignorant. At first I thought the government was giving scholarship and the government was paying people to go and things like that. And that, like, this process is solely on your own, This process is something that you have to walk through by yourself. Like, you don't have no help. Like, I'm not sure what it is like now, but when I was there, we didn't have no help. We didn't, like, you have to register for the NCAA portal. You have to submit your GPA. You have to do all of these things, and
yeah,
you have to figure it out by yourself. And I had to try to figure out all of these things by myself. And the thing is, you have to show this school that, okay, because if you're international, it's hard for them to give you a full scholarship because it's more expensive for them.
It is.
Because if there's somebody that's in state, they get in-state tuition, they get Pell Grant, they get all of these things. So even if technically they're on a full scholarship, they only earn like 5% of the scholarship. But with an international person coming in now, even if they might have to give you 85%. So you have to show that you're better than the people that are in their state, that in their country, and that people that can afford to go to school before they come to you.
Exactly.
And that is something that I didn't know.
A lot of people don't know that. A lot of athletes and even students who are not athletes, they just assume that they can come out to the US and just get a full scholarship.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it barely happens.
Hardly ever.
For international students especially, it's extremely difficult because, as you rightly said, you have to be like elite above the others that are available in a particular area, like in a particular sport, in the country, even other international people that you're competing against. Yeah. You have to be like elite. So a lot of times when I talk to people who are athletes, I tell them, I said, hey, one of the first things you should do is document your progress. Make sure that you have records of how you've progressed over the years. Because a lot of coaches, they would say, can I see your tape? That's one of the first things they're asking you for. And then you're like, well, we don't record anything in the Caribbean, or international students don't record anything much, And then you hear them assuming that, well, I just want a full ride. And I'm like, that's almost impossible. You don't get full rides like that. So I'm glad you said that, and you've had to, unfortunately, live that experience of figuring it out on your own. And that's why what we do at Global Ed is that we try to provide students with this type of advice so that they know what they're getting into before they even think about pursuing a degree in the US. So you're an athlete, you transferred to Texas A&M. You went there and you met Alain Francique, as we call him Pesh.
Yeah, Pesh.
And, you started to train with him. And I suppose at that time, you still taking your classes as usual and everything, right? Can you, full disclosure, you and I basically did the same. Well, what you did as a minor, I did it as my master's degree and everything. And I got to sit in my classes with athletes. So guys who were, going to be going to the NBA, who play in professional golf or whatever. Those are the guys I took classes with. And I would see the amount of work they had to put in terms of training. They would train sometimes twice a day. Plus they have to come in their classes, make their grades, do all of that stuff. So how was that for you? I mean, you said school was easy for you, apparently.
School was easy in that school.
But when you got to Texas A&M, what was the difference?
Different environment. First of all, when in that school, I had a class of 12 and 10 people. It's easier to learn. At Texas A&M, one class had 300 people, 400 people. You could get lost easily. And coming from Grenada, you have one class with 400 people in it. Because Texas A&M enrollment is like 60,000 people.
Yeah.
When you go into the auditorium, man, you could do whatever because the teacher don't even know, the teacher not looking at you. And then now in the track, it's business. Like they want you to perform. So it's no longer this, coach thing, you know.
Yeah.
No. You could get lost because the teachers don't care about you. They don't even know your name. They just see you as a number. Like they don't even, like you can go the whole year and that teacher don't even know your name because he has like 500 students in there. So that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me, transferring from the small school to, God, it's funny how God worked things out because I feel like I had to go to that small school and to get my foot wet and then come there. Because that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me. And the good thing about them though, we had tutors.
Okay.
We had tutors, we had learning assistants, we had people that make our schedule for us, we had people we had study hall hours, and they had a system in place for their athletes.
Yeah.
To ensure that these athletes would make grades and could graduate. I remember my first exam at Texas A&M, I made a D. From seeing that school was easy to making a D.
Yeah.
And then that's when I had like the I gotta get myself together because I ain't coming here to flunk out of college. Yeah. And I went to study hall and I walk and I think it was like a business class. I got it was political science or something like that. I got a D in it. And then I took some other easy classes and stuff. The first exam was a D, and then I took some easy classes and stuff. And I think I ended up making like a C+ or something in that class. And the other classes I did good. I did good enough to end up getting a 3.0 GPA.
Okay.
And at Texas A&M, if you make a 3.0, you have the ability to get out of study hall. And then I was like, well, okay, I'm going to get out of study hall. And then I went back to my regular thing and I was like, no, I want to go back
and study hall.
Because, in study hall, there's structure.
Yeah.
You can study, your time allocated for studying and stuff like that.
Yep.
But when you're on your own, I'll study tomorrow, or think tomorrow. So I think like having that system made school a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too? So when I was at Texas Tech, I was one of those people who worked with the athletes. I worked with the baseball players and the track and field. And I would be the one checking their grades to make sure that they're in line with NCAA standards.
Yeah.
And we would organize so if somebody was not meeting the grade, I'd be like, hey, you would need to take tutoring classes because you're not meeting your grades. So you wouldn't be able to compete. And those things are important for athletes to know. Yeah. You have to perform in the classroom also. It's not just about how well you do on the track. So there's an importance in that too, keeping up the grades.
I also feel like utilize your resources, man.
There's so much resources in those universities.
Yeah, I feel like you think athletes think they're dumb for going to study hall. I'm like, you're dumb if you don't go.
Yeah.
Because they paying these people to help you, to teach you, to educate. Some of these people took the classes, they could give you tricks on how to professor stuff. But I feel like there's like a stigma around going to study hall that you're dumb.
But one of the cool things is that a lot of the people that teach those classes are students themselves.
Yeah.
So they're your peers. They're not looking at you in any kind of way. Exactly. They're just there to help you. They're good at the classes.
Exactly.
They're a bit more smart than the average person, to be honest. And they're like, I want to make my money and help somebody else.
It's simple as that.
So
but
that's
I feel
what it
like
is.
some of these athletes, you're dumb thinking that you don't want to go to study hall and then you're going to get bad grades, but you're embarrassed to go to study hall.
Yeah.
I'm going to study hall, I'm getting good grades, and I'm doing good on the track. I feel like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So, okay, so you started performing, you found yourself like in your academics, you started figuring out what was going on.
Yeah.
How was your athletic performance coming up at the same time?
Well, it was crazy because, you know, training with Pesh, he unlocked something. He was like, man, you got to be tough. You got to be Grenadian.
Yeah, the grit.
Yeah, he was like, do it for your country, man. And these are the things that he was saying to me that another coach that don't know me, he can't say these things to me.
Yeah, true.
And then I went on and I won NCAA the first year, and I broke the collegiate record, and I kept winning, and I was the best athlete in the country. Like, it was crazy coming from a guy that was getting beat by a girl.
Yeah.
Running and to be the best athlete in the country and being recognized on ESPN as one of the best athletes in the country coming from Grenada. And, you know, to this day, like one of my closest friends is John Anderson from ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was like, man, I just love your story and I love to see the way you progress. And so I was making good grades and I was excelling. So I was a happy guy at Texas A&M.
Yeah. So did you take up your minor from the very beginning in sports, or did you take it up when you got to Texas A&M?
I took up the minor in sports management when I got to Texas A&M because that was actually a degree class. That was actually a major class that you could do, but you could do it as a minor as well.
Yeah.
And with the business course, you could do 2 minors with that business course. So I went ahead and I was like, maybe if I wanted to do something in sports when I was done, like be an agent or something like that, having a sports management minor could help with that.
Okay.
And you know, just my other minor was in leadership, how to be a good leader. And I feel like as an athlete, something like that is important, you know, learning traits of leaders and different types of leaders and, you know, just learning how to lead, I think is important because the better you become, you automatically become a leader, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
People gravitate towards you and look to you to lead them.
Yeah.
So I think like having these minors along with my business major, I think it really helped me excel beyond with some of my decisions that I've made in my career. And during my career, some of the investments that I've made, I feel like having that degree and that knowledge and stuff like that has helped me become a better athlete.
Oh, okay. So let's dig into that a little more because I think I'm seeing something here where you said your brother told you, hey, you're coming out here for an education. Like he kind of put that in your head, right?
Yeah.
And then it sounds as if like what you're saying to me is even while I was taking my classes, I was planning for the future. I was kind of like thinking ahead, like plotting what I would do when I'm through with being an athlete.
100%. Because I remember when I graduated, I had a talk with my fiance, and I was like, if I'm not making as much money as my degree would pay me in sports, I would not do it. Because I was like, I'm not going to come to the US, get a degree at Texas A&M, have my peers excel, have my peers build houses and stuff, and struggle trying to be an athlete. Mm-hmm. So I looked up kind of what somebody with my degree would be making, and I was like, if I cannot make this figure, I don't even want to make more. But if I cannot make this, you know, I would not do track.
Oh, okay.
Because at the end of the day, I came for education.
So it was always a business decision for you.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Like and that's how I go about with my life pretty much, you know. It has to make sense.
Yeah.
Like it has to make business sense with every decision that I made.
Yeah. That's a very interesting way to look at it because I think sometimes, you know, especially with your ability athletically, people might get a little caught up with, you know, seeing like, oh, I could be a millionaire, I could this, I can that. But you more saw it as, okay, if I'm not doing athletics, how much money would I make?
How much?
I at least want to make that.
You know what I mean? What does the average person make when they graduate from Texas A&M with this degree? Like, I need to make that,
Yeah.
or else I'll go work.
Yeah.
You know, or else I'll go work. I'll do the normal corporate job. I'll take out my house loan. I'll do it the normal way.
So I know being an athlete, you have to do a lot of traveling. And even while you were in school, you have to go to compete in different states, different parts of the country and stuff like that. How does an athlete balance that? Like, how does that work?
The traveling aspect?
They not being in classes and still having to perform, because you still have to do what you need to do. I mean, I know we used to have to give like athletes notes and letters and stuff to get exempted from classes whenever they're competing. And they have a certain level of responsibility too, where they have to approach the coaches or whoever, get the permission to go, give it to the professors. The professors will grant them permission to go compete without any penalty of absence or anything. So how was that for you in terms of having to compete but yet still balance your classwork?
Yeah, that was one of the toughest things, because even if you get the exemption, you still miss a lecture.
Yeah.
You know, like you still miss a lecture. You might miss a critical lecture that is definitely coming out of the exam. So that was one of, and then sometimes you meet some professors that hate athletes. Like, they just hate athletes. They think athletes is like the scorn of the earth. Like, they were like
pampered babies.
Yeah. So now you feel like, okay, you got to make it up. I don't care if you have to go and compete. That's on you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you wanted to be an athlete, that could be an athlete or something, but I feel like you meet these, and then you meet the other professors that are good and accommodating. But when you get the ones that kind of much have like a disdain, like you have to go out there and go to somebody in a class that has the notes and take the notes and try to relearn things.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the side that people don't see as an athlete.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where you can't control it necessarily, because honestly, I mean, some professors that could be pretty difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah. So in terms of how you handle that, like, what did you have a specific technique to, like, all right, maybe I have a friend in that class that I can rely on, make sure I get their notes? Because, so I don't know if you know this guy, but his name is Jonah. He was from Kenya, but he represented the US in the 800 meter. And he ran for the US. So he and we were real good friends. And I remember, like, I used to have to teach him classes because he had to go to compete and, you know, do his thing.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, he was like, Timon, like, I need help with this class, or I need the notes, or I need to figure out how to do this assignment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you do something like that, like a little buddy system? How did it work for you?
Yeah. So even if when I was in GBSS, I always did that. Like, I used to be friends with ordinary people. I feel like some athletes, they don't want to be friends with regular students. So I was friends with regular students. And then I would go to them and say, hey, can I get the notes? Or even if I miss it, I'll do the tutor. And then the tutor will reteach me the things that I miss. So I feel like it's a matter of you being disciplined.
Yeah.
And a matter of you, because this is solely on you now. Like, this is not, nobody could make you go and do that, because when you go and do the exam, it's either you know the material or you don't. So I think, you know, one of the things that I discovered that I wish every athlete that's listening, I always studied with non-athletes. I never studied with athletes.
I guess that's why Jonah was studying with me then. he was like, let me study with Timon, because he ain't good. He's not a good athlete.
Yeah, but usually what happens when you have too much in common with somebody, you all talk about everything that's not the school
related to it.
You know, sometimes you study with athletes and you get distracted. But then when you study with a man that come to college for education, and come with a man that, okay, this is what I have to do. This is my NCAA.
Yeah.
This is my Olympics.
Yeah.
Then he studied different.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the things that I used to do. I never studied with athletes.
So I don't know if you had this experience, but one of the things that I was very, very empathetic to, like, I was very empathetic towards other international students too. Mm-hmm. So because I was like a high performer in all those classes, and so I used to specifically look out for other international students. And in a lot of cases, they were athletes, or, you know, there were students who either they didn't speak English very well and stuff like that. And I used to ensure that those were the people, especially that I tried to help and stuff. So I don't know if you had a community of people that you were able to work with. I don't know what the situation was for you.
I didn't have that. Some of the people that that I interacted with who weren't American, they were from the Caribbean and they were athletes.
Okay.
Like
they were generally athletes.
They were all athletes.
All, okay.
Like we had some goons, man. Braylon Taplin, Dion, Lendo, Chavez Hart, Kanika, like, and that's the three Grenadians right there.
Yeah.
Francique. So we had our own community.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wasn't going to go study with them.
No.
See what I'm saying?
Because y'all would end up talking about oil dung and what you miss
everything
and all
else.
Yeah.
We gonna talk about everything else but do the schoolwork.
Yeah. So you finally finished your university education. You were performing at a high level. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe one of the most proud moments of your life would have been when you walked that stage with the gown and you finally graduated. How was that feeling for you?
Well, man, look, it's crazy that you asked that question, right? Because they asked me to give a speech at the graduation on behalf of all of the athletes. When you think about how crazy that is, right? I feel like that's been the story of my life. Like, why they choose me to do something like that? So I feel like my whole graduation was just like a surreal moment.
Yeah.
I had some of my closest friends there, and it was just a lot of memories came back, And then when I had to make sure when I opened the diploma that my diploma was in there, I was like, I get
like you really got it.
Yeah, I get that piece of paper.
Yeah.
But it reminded me where I started, and then because when I became successful in track, there was a slight moment when I forgot why I started, And when I got the paper, I remember that I started to get this.
Yeah.
And, when I got that paper, I was like, I just could have just lift up my head to the Father and just give it thanks, because remember today I was teaching.
Yeah.
And that could have easily been my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I know there are people who go through the same thing as me. They were good secondary school athletes. They go back for a second year. Then they go to TAMCC, still hoping to get a scholarship, And then they start working, still hoping and training to try to get a scholarship, and they never get a scholarship. And then I didn't get the big one, but I got something. I just got my foot in the door, and I kicked the door open.
Yeah. So you went from a tiny window of opportunity at a small school.
Yeah, like a creek.
You just happened to slither through a crack, right?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold,
you
got your university degrees. You excelled at athletics.
Mm-hmm.
You basically got more than you bargained for.
Way more. And this is why people ask, why Lindon Victor humble? I don't have a choice. Like, God just blessed me in a way that I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
You know? And people were like, boy, you're so humble. You get an Olympic medal. And if they understand the story, they will understand why I can't be boastful, because not me that doing these things.
Yeah.
It's just the blessing of the Lord. It have to be. Because when I give you the chronological story of my life, you understand, well, me winning an Olympic medal in an event like the decathlon that we don't even do. We don't even do pole vault. We don't even do huddles. You understand?
It's beyond the scope of what you were seeing at the time.
Oh my, yeah.
I would imagine.
And when I realized that I was teaching, and the amount of people that go through that same cycle, where they were good secondary school athletes, they go back for the second year, they go back and they go into MCC, and nothing. That is it. They dead right there. I could have been dead right there, because usually if you're going to get a scholarship, you don't go through all of that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Usually if you will get it, you'll get it.
You get it as soon as you come out of high school, most times.
Yeah, most times. You know, all my friends was leaving. Kellon had left. Alexis had left.
Yeah.
Eamon Gibbs had left. And Choco still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never gave up, though.
I never
You
gave
always
up.
had that dream in the back of your head, like,
And these guys are there, right? And they talking to their coaches. We have another man back in Grenada. And they trying to help me come up. They say, but we have another man back in Grenada. We have to get our man. And that is what they telling the coaches, eh?
yeah.
Because all of us was training together. All of us was training together, and they're trying to find a way for me to come up. Like they asking their coaches and stuff about me. But I did, and I pressing. I teaching. I finish teach. I taking a bus and I going and train.
Yeah.
I teach it, when I done, I take a bus and I go and train. Every single day still.
Even without knowing that you had an opportunity.
I didn't have a scholarship. I tried to get a scholarship, but, you know.
So, and I think it's a bigger lesson here. It's like a lot of people, as I say to them sometimes, you know, they say, well, I mean, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that. It's always what they don't have.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to them, you have the drive, you have the desire.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is you kind of have to be a little risk. You have to take a little risk.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to be bold. Like, yeah, you may not have, $20,000 in your account to come up here, right? But if you really want to achieve your educational dreams, at some point you kind of have to just be like, you know what, I'm taking the risk.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what it takes.
Yeah.
And by risk, I don't necessarily mean coming here with $500 in your pocket, as some people did, which is even more brave than others. But
you know how much money I came in America with?
I don't want to guess, but let me see. I'll say like 200.
$10.
10?
Swear to God.
That's crazy.
$10.
That's the least of what anybody said.
$10. $10.
Well, that took more than just
$10.
That took more than just faith. That was craziness.
$10.
I've never heard someone say that little.
When I write the book, you understand. $10 I come to the States with. I couldn't even buy someone the airport to eat.
Yeah.
$10.
What would cause you to do that though?
It's a long story. $10. not for the podcast. $10, brother.
That's nuts.
10.
I'm still in disbelief.
10 wrinkly. At $10, he was wrinkled up. He was in the house for years, and that is what I come up in the States with. $10.
So if you came with $10, I'm almost certain that other people who have the drive could find a way to pursue that dream too, right? What would you say to that person?
To be honest with you, I can't even see nothing to that person because God just made a way for me. To be honest, when I came up, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a notebook, I didn't have a pen. I went to college,
Yeah.
nothing. And then a family friend, when I came in the States, she was like, Lindon, how you coming in the States with nothing like that? And she husband take me to Best Buy. And they bought me a computer, bought me a notebook, pen, and some supplies and stuff that, like normal things that you need for school.
Yeah.
And that is how I made it through my first year in university.
That takes some bravery, boy.
I take faith.
A lot.
Yeah. What's crazy, I was so naive, right, that I didn't even think I needed a computer and these things like that.
Yeah.
Because I was just so happy to get a little blind. I wasn't even thinking that I don't have a computer.
Yeah.
I don't even thinking that I don't have a notebook and thing. I just thinking that for some reason the school go provide
Find all of those things.
Yeah. Not knowing. Well, probably I'm thinking God would have provided. Like Abraham. But that is the truth, brother. I wasn't even thinking that I didn't have these things.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I didn't even know that I needed it.
That's impressive. So, I mean, I'm still in shock that you took such a bold step. But I mean, at the end of the day, right? I think that may have started from the fact that you just knew, what you wanted,
Yeah.
and you knew that you were going to get it regardless. It had to have started from somewhere there, because that's definitely a brave thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, no, you think about it, you know?
It's kind of unbelievable, right? You're shocking your own self.
Yeah. No, I think about it like, well, I mean, $10 in $10 in 2015 and $10 now is,
It's a little different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2013. It's 2013. It's a little bit different.
So I guess adjusted for inflation, you may have had 20. All right. So okay. So you finish your educational pursuits. You've done all of that. We kind of breeze in through the athletic achievement and all of that, because we can always talk about Lindon the athlete another time maybe.
Yeah.
But let's move the conversation along to the point where Lindon is doing what I would consider to be philanthropic work right now. Yeah. I'm kind of jealous of your Instagram sometimes, because I see you traveling all over the place. And my good buddy who's in the room with us here, he always says like, hey, Lindon is in this country, boy. Look, Lindon traveling. Look, Lindon doing this, Lindon doing that. So what did that do for you in terms of your need to maybe give back and stuff like that?
Yeah, I feel like, to be honest with you, Timon, it was always in my heart. Like, giving back and helping was always, like, it was something that came natural to me, you know. And the more successful I became, it was easier for me to do it. Mm-hmm. Because now I had the platform to do it. Now, when I call up the Huggins or I call up the Grenadian Credit Union and I say, this is what I want to do, we're partners. You know, they are willing to help me with it. But imagine me being a PE teacher on the Imani program, calling them and say, I want to do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, like it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But I feel like God has been able to bless me with the talent to be able to reach out to these people and say, okay, this is what my heart is. How can you help?
Yeah.
And for some reason, they're always in agreement.
Okay.
They're always in agreement. They share my vision. And, you know, it's a blessing. So, like, even me opening my foundation has nothing to do with track and field. Like, it's a small part. Like, I'll give out some spikes and stuff. But the biggest part is to help underprivileged kids get an education.
Yeah.
You know, get, because, man, it's expensive to go to secondary school. You have to get a pants, you have to get a shoes, you have to get a belt, you have to get a tie. So, you know, and there's a lot of burden for, I remember my mother used to do the travel walk in August, and, you know, that money for that travel walk did I go in to help us buy with shoes and with belt and stuff for school. Mm-hmm. And, you know, then my father used to work at Grenadian, and then Grenadian had a similar program to what I do in my foundation.
Oh, okay.
And that is where the idea stemmed from.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, if I ever in a situation to do it, then I go do something real similar.
So how does your program work? Is there any particular requirement? Who gets in? Who's able to access that program?
So the thing that I'm trying to protect myself with right now is to not try to do it too big too soon. Because I want to help everybody, but I can't. So I think I want to start with the people that need it the most. Obviously, I'm going to start with my primary school. The school, my primary school, the person that's transitioning from primary school to secondary school, that person automatically gets on the Lindon Victor Foundation.
Okay.
Like, I feel like you always have to start home when you're starting. And, you know, just probably have them write the essay as to why they think they deserve to be on the Lindon Foundation. Mm-hmm. And then read it and then determine who would get on it. I think that's the best way my team and I decide that we're going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. We even looking to partner with a university so that when these kids graduate from secondary school, they have a university to go to and they can afford a degree. So we're looking to partner that way as well, to take them to get a degree.
Okay. Well, I guess I can make an offer right now where I could say that our organization, we're willing to do any kind of seminar or any kind of talk that you might want, maybe to have a session with these students to talk about the possibility of university education and how it can benefit them.
Yeah,
So
that would be great, man.
I'm willing to partner with you to at least do that so I can give back in that way too. Now you're in a position where you could influence other young people, other athletes. And I think there is something to be said about the fact that maybe we are not doing the best job in terms of educating people back home or international students about, like what they need to be focusing on.
No, for real, because I'm telling you, like, part of my foundation is I want to educate athletes as to what to expect when they come over here. Because a lot of times they get lost, and it pisses me off. If it's one, because remember I tell you how I come. And then when I message an athlete and they're going to tell me, oh, they fail in the class because they procrastinate. Or they fail in the class because that just get me real hot.
Yeah.
Because I know what I've been through to get this scholarship. And you get this scholarship. And you that's what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
I just get upset. So I part of the foundation is something that I want to educate them. I want to be able to meet with them regularly, check up on them, provide resources for them to help them be kind of like the bridge for them.
Yeah.
When they come up here, because I just get pissed off when I hear they don't finish university.
Yeah.
Or they get caught shoplifting, or they start to follow people that is not a Grenadian way. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the sauce in America.
Yeah.
So, just educating them on what to expect. Because if you don't know what to expect, you see with me now, my brother
already kind of guided you as to.
He tell me education.
Yeah.
He tell me that he say education. And mind you, my brother was doing great in the universities.
Okay.
Like he was the NCAA champion. He was a news and all kind of thing. And he never tell me nothing about athletics.
Oh, really?
Nah. He say education. I know he always tell me too. He say, what is for you is for you. Just so. When it comes to track, he'll say, what is for you is for you. But the education part, he was like, that's what you're here for.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I definitely think your experience is inspiring to young people. Some of the details that you shared can definitely parallel with other experiences that other people might be having and other international students who are out there. And I think that there's a lot of lessons to learn from some of the things that you shared today. And I want to definitely thank you for doing that. And maybe to kind of wrap this conversation up, I just had a couple questions for you because I kind of want to see exactly what your answer would be to these, lighter questions, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So if you want to consider someone to be your hero, who would that person be?
Hero.
Or Shiro?
Man, I mean, I could name a few, Like my brother is one of my biggest inspirations. My parents. People that I look up to, Ali and Francis. I look up to Kriani a lot. So when you say, I feel like heroes come in different times in your life.
True.
So there's quite a number of people that I would consider to be heroes or sheroes,
Yeah.
So these are some of the people I would say.
All right. And my last question to you is for students, international students, whether they be athletes, non-athletes, whatever they are, but there is a need to pursue education. What bit of advice would you offer them?
Be able to sacrifice. I think that's what it comes down to. Be able to be disciplined. Well, I feel like once you're disciplined, you're willing to sacrifice things. And so if you want it, you're gonna have to be disciplined. You're gonna have to be able to sacrifice friends, sacrifice people, and pursue it with everything, because I've seen education take people out of poverty, man. Like I've seen poor people who used to have to study with candlelight and lantern and thing become millionaires just because they could read a book, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because they could read a book and they study and they sacrifice that small part of their life and just give it towards education. And that changed their generation, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, then you see them with big cars and stuff, and when they tell you their story, like, how? Your mother didn't buy that for you? Your daddy didn't get that to you? And these people just sacrifice. So I feel like once you come up here and you have that opportunity, it's a 4-year program. Maybe you go and you do your master's. But I feel like when you think about it, 6 years of your life it's just 6 years. If you could focus for 6 years of your life, and you could excel in academics, you could change a whole generation, man. Like, and let's be honest, Grenadian people is poor people. And you get the opportunity to come up and to get an education. And you just have to sacrifice for 6 years. If you tell me I could sacrifice and do party and do drink and don't smoke and sacrifice 6 years of my life and get it towards education and I could become a millionaire, I would do that every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I could get a job that's paying me $100,000, $200,000 US dollars. I would do that every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you got to be able to be disciplined and sacrifice. Sacrifice the 4 years of fun to be able to change your generation. And that's how I look at it. I want to be able to change my generation. I want to be able to give my kids things that my parents could have. And that's where I'm at in my track and field career right now. I want to sacrifice some immediate gratifications to zone into this next 4 years of my life. To zone in to see how good I could be athletically.
Okay.
To give myself the best chance to be the world champion, to be the Olympic champion. You know, and I feel like no matter which aspect you're in, whether it's academics or athletics, that's what it's going to take.
Yeah. 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 Well, on a lighter note, though, just one more thing before we leave, because I know I said one more, but I have one more. All right. What's one of the things that you do for fun? Because it sounds as if you're very structured. I know, I've been to your trainings. I see how hard you work. But what do you do for fun outside of all of the hard work that you do?
I train 6 days a week, right? Sometimes you train 6-7 hours. I'm tired when I reach home. And Sunday, I go to church. And then Monday, I go back to training.
Yeah.
So I would watch TV for fun.
Okay.
And now that I'm venturing different aspects of my life, like with the foundation coming up, with I trying to open a business, like I don't even have time for fun.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, I'm trying to zone in for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everybody should try to do that. Like, give yourself some time, say for 4 years, I'm going to start this business. For 4 years, I'm going to study. For 4 years, I'm going to do this. And give yourself the opportunity. Because remember when we started this interview, the one thing I told you is that I wasn't good in track, but I gave myself the opportunity.
Yeah.
I went to the coaches and stuff to give myself the opportunity to be good. So I feel like just give yourself the opportunity to see how good you could be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, this is a very fruitful conversation. I think very informative and inspirational too. And I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come out and talk about all of this. And I hope that what you've said would definitely inspire people. And we definitely see that there's a lot more work to do in terms of educating young people about how to approach the next phase of their lives. But ultimately, you're doing the work. You have your foundation. We're doing the same thing with what we try to do at Global Ed. So we really appreciate what you're doing, and we'll continue to do what we're doing too to help young people. So, Lindon, thank you very much for having this chat.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. So that was the end of the conversation. This is a very inspirational conversation with Lindon Victor, OBE. And if you are interested in learning more about what Global Ed Recruiting does, send us an email at globaledrecruiting@gmail.com, or you can find us on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Global Ed Recruiting. So until next time, thank you very much for joining this conversation, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for supporting Global Ed Recruiting Agency. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.